Joining us now, Carl Higbie of the Carl Higbie Show. Great to have you, Carl.
Hey, thanks for having me. John, you got to stop making me out to be a tough guy, because I always, I've always wanted one of these Antifa guys to confront me face to face, and when you keep saying that, they won't do it.
I know. Well, look, you don't get to be a Navy SEAL these days for nothing, right? We know that. I've got a friend of mine, Scott Taylor, Congressman, 2nd District, Virginia Beach. He was a SEAL, and he always tells us stories when we get around. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, even getting accepted and getting the training and everything. It's not for the squeamish, let me put it that way. Carl, but what do you think of these job numbers?
It's exactly what President Trump said when he was running. He said, I will be the greatest jobs president God has ever created. I mean, everybody made fun of him. Everybody said, oh, who is this? You can't just wave a magic wand. Well, abracadabra, here we are.
Adding another 200,000 jobs. What are the Democrats running on other than rage? And, resistance to what? Like, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he says, really, we got to get a Democratic congressman in there just to stop Trump. Now, I'm like, stop Trump from doing what? Growing the economy? What are you going to stop him from doing? Like meeting with people so we can have peace instead of war? I mean, what? Stop him from doing what? Right? Yeah, adding 200,000 jobs a month? What are you going to stop him from doing?
Well,
I don't get it.
I just don't understand it. I did a podcast on this yesterday, and it went absolutely viral. I got over like 1 million impressions on Twitter on this, and it's you can just go to iTunes and get it there. And I went through this New York Times article paragraph by paragraph, and they're like, we're going to stop him. There's adults in the room. No, there's not adults in the room. Donald Trump is the adult in the room. We elected him, and all these elitists that think they know better, that are claiming to be the adults in the room, are exactly what we voted against. We want loyal soldiers. And I said this point blank in my podcast and in my tweet that went absolutely bananas, was loyalty right now is more important than qualifications in this White House. Because if you don't have loyalty, your people are not going to follow your lead, which we elected the president to do.
So, first of all, let's start with the rat weasel piece of turtle turd that did this. I mean, what a cowardly act, right, Carl? I mean, look at yourself, how you served your country. I mean, what a yellow belly rat, cowardly weasel act to scurry about with an op-ed with not even having the kahunas to put your name on it, or the moxie to put your name on it. You go and you call up, you go through an intermediary, the Times said, and there was a clandestine meeting, and you have this op-ed, and you're not going to put your name on it. I mean, what a weasel. I mean, have you ever seen such a thing?
No, I haven't, John. And, this reminds me, I talked to a couple networks yesterday about this, which is, I did a similar thing under Barack Obama. I wrote my first book on active duty criticizing his policies. The only differences between me and this turd from the White House now is that I put my name on the front cover, and in the first sentence of the book, I said, he's my commander-in-chief, and I will obey his orders because I respect the chain of command. I was still out there criticizing. But you know what? You put your name on something that you believe in. I'm a firm believer of Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. You put your name on something you believe in, and then you stand behind it. But you do not break the law. You do not take papers. I would never take a paper off Barack Obama or a chief's desk or a fellow SEAL. I would never do that, because that's insubordination. That's breaking the law. That's breaking your oath. And I see this guy. And let me tell you right now, we will find this person. And when we do, I hope that they bury him under the jail. And I told people yesterday, I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure this is treason. And we should use any and all means necessary to subpoena records, emails, phone calls, anything. And if we have to use the Patriot Act, I don't know if we can, but we should definitely explore it to try to figure out who did this and seize the records from the New York Times and find out who wrote this article, because it is treason.
Well, why is it treason if you're a political appointee, right? I mean, I'm sure he got in there because Trump made Reince Priebus chief of staff. He brought all of his, Rhino RNC people in that hated Trump. I'm sure that's the genesis of where this person came out of. But treason means that you're doing something to harm your country, right? So
yeah, and if you have a duly elected president who's trying to implement an agenda and you are deliberately undermining that, I believe that is treason. I mean, if you deliberately undermine a commander in the battlefield, you can not will, but you can be charged with treason.
Look, I agree with you on this, that the administration really needs to find who this person is. Now, how they do that, Carl, I don't know. Being in the newspaper business myself for a very long time, I don't believe in getting sources revealed. I mean, that really changes the media business.
What's a matter of national security, though? I mean, normally I'd say, look, if he had written an op-ed saying, like, look, I don't like the guy and all this stuff, but what he said in there was that they stifle his agenda, they take papers off his desk. That is the line. Look, if you don't like the guy, if this had been published and they said, look, I don't like the guy, we're trying, blah, 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 that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but it's more acceptable. But when you say you are deliberately undermining and stopping him from putting forth his agenda, that is where you cross the line.
So how are they going to find them? Do you have an idea? So two questions. We're with Carl Higbie of the Carl Higbie Show. You can get him on iTunes or just go to his podcast, carlhigbieshow.com. Carl, so how do they find this guy, aside from subpoenas and congressional inquiries? I mean, if it is a senior official, how do they find him?
I mean, you're going to have to subpoena the New York Times and their records in order to get him. That's the way to do it. And I know there's been precedent to uphold that, newspapers can protect their sources, but this is a whole new level. I think this crosses a line, a legal line that removes any type of protections from journalism. I really think that they need to go there because President Trump needs to get a handle on these people that are in there that are undermining him. I mean, it's terrible. Half the things that people are doing he doesn't know about because they keep him in a bubble so they can, quote, as this thing says, protect the republic. This is BS. Donald Trump won the presidency, not these party insiders that think they know better, these consultants. You look at some of the people in there that are still there. They're undermining his agenda, and they're hurting this country. They said in that article that he's succeeding in spite of himself. That's bull. He's succeeding because of his policies. The policies he espoused, which promises made, promises kept on the campaign trail. And these people have the nerve to sit there and say, well, we're the ones who are really doing it behind the scenes. No, you're not. And if they were, they've been in there for 20 or 30 years. And why weren't these policies that they're, that now that they're apparently the ones putting in place, why didn't they work then?
Right.
Before Trump?
Well, Carl, let me ask you this. How did they get there? I mean, my theory from the beginning is I thought the worst decision that President Trump made in the transition was hiring Reince Priebus as chief of staff, because that just started the whole ball rolling. He brought all the RNC never Trumpers in that hated him on the campaign, couldn't stand the guy, didn't believe in his policies. He brought them all into the West Wing. Many of them are still there. Do you share that view, or do you have a different opinion?
No, I share that view. And look, here's the thing. I know Reince personally. He's actually a pretty nice guy. Like, he'd be a great neighbor, good friend. But the problem is he's part of a political establishment that was not the product of Trump, nor was Trump a product of them. So it was completely at odds. And you're 100% right that he did bring people in there. I mean, look at some of the people that are there now. They don't have, many of them don't have experience to hold those positions. And they also don't have the loyalty. I'd rather have somebody with loyalty that's willing to work hard. I mean, like a proven track record of working hard and is loyal than somebody who has, quote, all this experience working in D.C. Because let me tell you, just about anybody could figure out a government job, with the exception of a handful of things like Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State. You can get just about anybody in mid-level to just get the job done. When I was in the government, when I was in my appointed position, I spent more time figuring out who to talk to than actually getting the job done, because the government has made it so complicated. If you bring in loyal soldiers and that just work and get the job done, you can go around all that stuff.
Look, the bottom line is with this, and you're right, Carl, is that the president is the head of a movement. He's got a very robust America First agenda. And as we've seen in the book by Carl Woodward and now with this op-ed, if you're working on behalf of this president, this administration, and you don't ideologically share the president's views or his agenda or the policies that are as a result of his movement, then obviously you're not going to do anything to help him move it along. I mean, you have to be able to believe in his trade policies and his foreign policy, whatever he's doing, you have to believe in the America First agenda. If you don't, you're not going to be motivated to get any of it done. In fact, you're going to do the opposite, which is exactly what the op-ed said. You're going to take papers off his desk and put a monkey wrench in everything, or put a pins out, so to speak, so the wheels don't run. And I think that's what you're seeing here. And the president is tremendously successful in spite of this. Actually, in the op-ed, he said, well, the country's successful, the administration's successful despite Trump. No, it's Trump is successful despite you, the guy that wrote the op-ed. Don't you agree?
I totally agree. And look, people ask me, they're like, Carl, you got hung out by the Trump administration. Like, why are you still so loyal? And I'll tell you why. The thing is, it's like, look, I said some things half a decade ago that came back to haunt me. Great. But the fact of the matter is like, this is not stuff that wasn't public. Like, this was well known when I was appointed, and then when it made news, I had to resign. Now, that's twofold. One, it's as a political appointee, it's your responsibility to be an asset to the administration. And the second you become a burden, it's your duty, as was mine, and I did resign. But at the same time, I got no support from the administration when that happened. But I still support this guy. I still support the president wholeheartedly because he's not the one who hung me out to dry. I said those things. And I still believe in his agenda, and I'm willing to do anything it takes to help him succeed, no matter what the cost personally to me, because I believe in him. And that's the problem. People may believe his policies, people may believe in the Republic, but I believe in Donald Trump. I so heartedly that I will do anything to help him succeed. And if it means going down with some of these people that are trying to take him down, I'm happy to do it.
Well, I tell you what, the person that did this really should come forward and resign. And the fact that you would write this op-ed, which is just crap, is to me, and then hide behind $170,000 job or something with benefits. It's like you're too cowardly to get another job. I mean, you don't even have the courage to just quit. It would be like you were hired by the Obama administration and you were in the room and your job was to implement implement Obamacare, which you absolutely didn't believe in, didn't think it was going to work. I mean, you have a duty to yourself to just quit and say, I can't do this. I don't believe in this. I don't want to do it. Instead, you get people in there that take the money, the government money, and are undermining this 63 million Americans that voted for Trump and his agenda. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. It's insane. It really is. I'm going to save the world, but I'm going to do it anonymously so I can keep my job.
Exactly.
It's like, if you really strongly believe in that stuff, step up and be a man about it, or woman. I don't know.
I mean, it's just quit. It's very easy to do, and at least have the courage to do that. But I guess the security of a cushy job is more important than just being true to yourself. And imagine being that person now. I mean, you're walking around there every day, and your people are speculating. Maybe it's you. Maybe it isn't. I mean, why would you even put yourself in that position? Now, you care to speculate? Who do you have any names who you think it could be?
I mean, I do. I have two people that I'm fairly convinced it's them, but I'm not going to say because I have zero evidence, and I don't want to put any type of wrong convictions on anybody. I mean, obviously it wasn't both of them, but and the two people that I'm thinking of are pretty damn close to this, and it makes me a little bit nervous. One of which I always kind of suspected that there might be ulterior motives there, but they're still there. And until there's evidence, I'm not, over a beer, I'll tell you, but out here in the public, I don't think it does the administration any good for me to name a suspicion with no evidence.
I agree. And I have a suspicion also, but I won't name it either because it's not the right thing to do. Unlike the New York Times, at least I still have some journalistic integrity.
Failing,
even though I have my opinions, and the John Frederick Show basically is 4 hours of news analysis and my own editorial and those on my show and their views. But it would be wrong to speculate and throw a name out there with no evidence. Just absolutely the wrong thing to do. So we're not going to do it, but we will talk to each other over